Here is what happened in the new Democratic-controlled steamroller Senate yesterday. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois had an amendment on the floor to save 1,700,000 homeowners from foreclosure. The amendment would have rolled back the law 30 years, once again letting bankruptcy judges cram down mortgages, rewriting them so homeowners could keep their homes, neighbors could keep the value of their homes, and banks would get their loan money back. For the amendment, unions, civil rights and consumer protection groups, the American Association of Retired Persons. Against the amendment, the American Bankers Association and the Mortgage Bankers Association and a dozen Democratic senators. In our fourth story tonight, guess who won? Illinois Senator Durbin said on Monday ahead of the showdown, quote, "The banks, hard to believe in a time when we're facing a banking crisis that many of the banks created, are still the most powerful lobby on Capitol Hill, and they frankly own the place. This is the place." And yesterday on the floor, Senator Durbin explained the choice before the Senate.
This is our chance to stand up for the folks across America who send us here to be their voice. They're not lucky enough to have the American Bankers Association as their lobby. They're not lucky enough to have the community bankers as their lobby. They're not lucky enough to have the credit union as their lobby. What we're talking about here are people who don't have any paid lobbyists. What they're counting on is people, senators in this chamber, who will stand up for them. The bankers don't want this. They hate the Durbin Amendment like the devil hates holy water. I hope that the homeowners across America have more friends here than the American Bankers Association. And we're going to get a test vote in a few minutes to find out. I need 60 votes to win.
He got 45 and lost. Winners included Democrat Ben Nelson, who's gotten $1.4 million from banks and real estate, and whose state of Nebraska will lose an estimated 3,700 homes now. Congratulations, Senator. Democrat Mary Landrieu, who has gotten almost $2 million, and whose state of Louisiana will now see an estimated 12,000 homes foreclosed on now. Congratulations, Senator. And, of course, this man, Edward Yingling, president of the American Bankers Association, who told the Washington Post in February, quote, "We will lobby very, very strongly." Mission accomplished, buddy. Let's turn now to Arianna Huffington, co-founder and editor-in-chief of HuffingtonPost.com. Good evening, Arianna. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, Keith.
Congresswoman Maxine Waters said in January that the banks, and this was her quote, "have owned this Congress way too long." Now Dick Durbin has said essentially the same thing. I thought the Democrats won last year.
Well, unfortunately, Keith, this is a fallacy. The idea that the bankers only have Republican friends. Ever since the Clinton years, Democrats decided to make nice with Wall Street. And remember, it was under Bill Clinton that the major FDR passed reforms to try and prevent another financial collapse after the Great Depression. The Glass-Steagall Act was basically the Moby Dick of the financial industry, and they harpooned it during the Clinton years. And here we have, as you said, 12 Democratic senators voting against the public interest.
If Senator Durbin and Congresswoman Waters think that the banks have bought Congress, should they not start naming names? I mean, Dick Durbin's plea on the floor of the Senate was impassioned, but shouldn't he come back out there and just read the riot act to those other 11 veteran senators and Senator Specter?
Absolutely. Well, we have the 12 names. I have them right here. I can read them to you very quickly. Max Baucus, Michael Bennet, Robert Byrd, Tom Carper, Byron Dorgan, Tim Johnson, Mary Landrieu, Blanche Lincoln, Ben Nelson, Mark Pryor, Arlen Specter, and John Tester. But beyond that, beyond what Dick Durbin can do, he really tried his best. We need Harry Reid to put the pressure on the caucus. We need President Obama, who came out in favor of this reform, but in a very ambivalent way, as Dick Durbin himself said. We need him to actually say enough. There isn't going to be one more penny for the bankers. Remember, Keith, on Thursday the stress tests are coming out. And we know perfectly well that the stress tests are going to lead us to more money going to the bankers unless the American public says enough. We are not going to keep bailing out the same bankers who are blocking major important legislation and also who keep jacking up the credit card rates at the expense of the taxpayer.
If we give that list, as you did, as I did earlier in the show, we should also mention on the other side of it, Evan Bayh, who was flirting with voting no and voted yes, apparently went with his conscience. So let's give him a little credit for that. But back to this point about the banks buying Congress. They now have bought it. The most recent round of investment in Congress has been with our money. What do we do about that realistic aspect that we are, in fact, paying for the very money that is being used against the ordinary citizens?
Well, that is really the outrage. That's why when the president said during his last press conference that he doesn't have a button he can push to make the bankers do what he wants, actually he does. He absolutely does. Were it not for the president's decision to bail out the bankers to the tune of tens of billions of dollars, Citi and a Bank of America for sure would not be around today to be paying lobbyists to block this legislative reform. That's the reality, Keith. So the president and his economic team, which let's not forget was instrumental in a lot of what went wrong on Wall Street, need to basically wake up and realize that the American public is going to be outraged if this continues. And the president's political capital, which right now seems absolutely enormous and unassailable, will not continue to be so forever.
Arianna Huffington of the Huffington Post, as always, great thanks. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.